Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are doing something really fun. We're reacting to TikToks. For the sake of entertainment, I am going to subject myself for 15 minutes of torture watching TikToks about finance. I hope at least some of them are good. So sit back and relax while I scroll through some of the TikToks for hopefully entertainment commentary. I also wanted to niche down into just index funds. So let's see what TikTok has to offer as far as index funds are concerned. And as soon as I search, the first result is Graham Stephan. If you follow any financial YouTube channels, you would have seen his channel. He's got some 3.5 million subscribers. So let's see what TikToks he's been making.
Okay, so the next question is, you guys want to know what is the most profitable index fund that you guys could be investing right now to double your money? And by the way, this is prop money.
They use so much of it, prop money.
The first one is right here. It's called VFIX, and for $302, you get to own a single piece of every single company within the S&P 500, and you only pay a 0.04% expense ratio.
S&P 500, my favorite.
T-Sax, and right now this is $80.69.
No.
But anyway, with this
Oh
you get to
no.
own a piece of every single stock out there, and also with an expense ratio of 0.04, which is really low. And of course, if you're feeling all adventurous and you want to invest in international stocks, then you also got this one, VTIX, and for $28, you cover all the international stocks. And that, you guys, is how you can double your money every 7 to 8 years and get prop money like me.
Oh yeah, double your money every 7 to 8 years. So this is actually not preposterous. That's how index funds have been performing in the past decades. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed to perform the same way in future, but it's kind of a safe-ish investment. Stocks are still considered pretty risky, but solid advice right there. I personally have invested in VFIX, no, not the S&P 500, but VTSAX and the international funds. VTSAX actually gives you a pretty good exposure on international as well, just because the largest companies in the United States are also doing business worldwide, like McDonald's, Apple, Microsoft. The international exposure is inbuilt, but if you want to diversify even further, it's a pretty good idea to get the international funds as well in your portfolio. Stocks versus index funds. Pretty basic, but let's see what this guy has to say about it.
What is the difference between stocks and index funds? When you buy shares of stock in individual businesses, you become a part owner of the business. That makes sense. For example, if you bought £100 worth of Apple shares, then you technically become a part owner of the company. And what about index funds? When you buy an index fund, you're buying a basket of stocks which are designed to track a certain index, such as the S&P 500. Okay. So if you buy an index fund, you own a share of stock for dozen, 100 or even 1,000 different companies indirectly. Which one should I invest in? Only you and your financial planner can decide which approach is best for you and most appropriate for your situation. But which one's better? As a general rule, index fund investing is better than investing in individual stocks because it lowers the risk and the need of constantly studying charts and reports for individual businesses.
That's some very solid advice. Yes, index funds give you this basket of stocks. So if one company were to go down the drain, all your money is not lost. You still have hundreds, if not thousands of companies making you money. There are horror stories of when employees, like the company Enron, there were multiple employees that put all of their 401ks and all of their life savings in one stock, which was their own company. That company went down to the dust. They lost their job, they lost their retirement, and they lost all their savings all in one go.
Wasn't Ms. Rockins really correct that you were abandoning ship on a day that you already knew, as she did, that this company had deep problems, that you had already identified them, and you were just walking away without warning investors, without warning employees, without telling everyone what the real reason was that you were quitting Enron?
Congressman, I can just say it again. On the date I left, I absolutely, unequivocally thought the company was in good shape.
And that's why it is suggested that you invest as much as possible in index funds, and individual company stocks are only to be invested in with play money, the money that you will not mind losing if it happens. But if you want to be safe with investing, go get yourself a basket of stocks and diversify your risk. Oh, property regrets.
I wish I'd done differently when I bought my first property. I wish I hadn't put down a 20% deposit. There's two ways I could have not done this. The first is use my parents as a guarantor and just put down 10%. And the other is use a scheme called the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme, where the government guarantees 15% and you just put down a 5% deposit. Why do I wish that I'd done this? Interest rates are really low at the moment and I pay about 2.6% on my mortgage. I want to invest as much as possible into index funds at the moment, which I hope will achieve between 7 to 8% a year. It makes more sense for my situation at the moment to invest as much as possible in shares, while home loan interest rates are still very low. But I'm still very happy and my property ended up being a great investment. The biggest
Really, really good advice right here. It is possible to get into the real estate market with less than 20% down payment. Another option when buying real estate in the United States, when you don't have the entire 20% down, is something called the PMI, the pre-mortgage insurance. What you can do is, say, put a 10% down and the rest 10% will be another loan which will carry a higher interest rate. So say, for example, if you got your home for the 80% of the mortgage at 3%, the PMI, the 10%, will be at a higher interest rate, almost like 5%. But that lets you get into the real estate market with lower down payment amount, especially if you're just starting out and you don't have enough money, or you want to take the strategy that she did, that even that 10% is going to have a 5% interest rate, but you could be making 7 to 8% in the stock market. If it's a lower amount, I wouldn't bother with that because the 3% extra on a 10% loan is not going to make you a lot of money. But this is a really good strategy to get into the real estate market when you're young and when you have time on your side, and you don't have to wait till you are able to save 20% as a down payment, especially if you found a good deal. Step by step to millionaire. I love this one.
If you were to invest $200 a month into your Roth IRA from age 25 to 65 at a conservative 8% return, you'd have about $1 million tax-free. So you need to go to schwab.com, open an account, choose Roth IRA, fill out all your personal information to open your account, choose a login ID and password. You'll go through account features. You can select beneficiaries. Then you'll need to accept terms and conditions. Then your account will open. Then you'll fund your account. Then you'll go to trade at the top, trade mutual funds, select an S&P 500 index fund, buy, then enter amount to buy, reinvest dividends and capital gain, continue, review order, place order, and then you can set up recurring monthly investment. If you were to
This was really fast for someone beginning. I have done this multiple times with many of my accounts, so I completely understood this, but this is such good information condensed into 30 seconds. First of all, he explains what investing $300 a month can do in a period of 40 years for you. He did not mention that a Roth IRA is also tax advantage, so that could have been a pretty good piece of information right here. And he shows you the entire process of how to open up this account. Really kudos, because I know so many like 40, 50-year-olds who don't understand how to open their own accounts and invest their money themselves. They're paying really high fees to other financial advisors that they don't necessarily need to. Certain basic investments, everybody should have this one-on-one knowledge. So kudos for condensing this much content into 30 seconds. That's really great. How to not lose money saving. Okay, let's look at this one.
Hey, should I just save my money in the bank for the next 10 years? Well, you'd actually be losing money because of inflation, and the cost of living is only going up.
I love this role play.
You want to invest your money so it can grow with the economy. But stocks are risky though. Yeah, they can be, but you can invest into low-cost index funds to begin with, like the S&P 500. Thanks, I'm gonna follow you for more. Hey, should I just save my money in the bank?
Yep, very basic information, but still extremely important. So important for the fundamentals of building wealth that you do not want to keep your money rotting in the banks, because the savings and checkings gives you like 0.001% interest and inflation is more than 3%. So you're literally losing value. I learned it the hard way. We kept cash in our bank accounts for a very long time and did not realize that we were supposed to invest it, but better late than never, right? As soon as I saw some cash building up from our savings, I realized that something was wrong, and I started getting into the rabbit hole of what to do with money, and read about a dozen books, including The Simple Path to Wealth, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, The Millionaire Next Door, and many other financial education books that I highly recommend you read for your own research and understand what your life philosophy is and what you want to do with your time and money, and start investing early on, because as I said, sitting in a bank account, your cash is losing value to inflation. All right, let's look at this one, my top 4 index and ETFs.
Now for my last video, a lot of you asked which index and ETFs to look at, and I'm going to share with you 4 of my favorites.
Why does she have gummy bears?
When you're investing in this, you invest in the top 500 companies and they also pay dividends. Next one is VTI. You will be invested in all publicly traded US companies and you'll also get dividends. The next one is QQQ. When you own this, you'll have exposure to 100 NASDAQ stocks, which are very heavy in tech. And the last one, super beginner friendly, is SPHD. You'll own the top 10% of the S&P 500. Now for my last video,
Interesting. Is this supposed to be a portfolio that you need all 4 of them, or you just need 1 out of 4? I think I would have also added what percentage of these index funds. I saw some repetition over there because some of them were a part of the same kind of fund. So I wouldn't really create a portfolio like that. The simplest 3-fund portfolio that you could look at is, one would be the VTSAX, which is the top 3,000 companies of the United States, and one would be a bonds portfolio, because bonds and stock, they are inversely proportional, their prices. So if the stock prices go up, bonds go down, and if the stock market crashes, bonds keep coming up. So if that gives you a little bit less of a risk and you can sleep more peacefully at night, I would recommend adding some bonds to the portfolio. If you're very young, you have time by your side and you're willing to take a lot of risk, it's okay to ignore the bonds for a little bit. But when you start thinking about retirement, especially when you know that you won't have ability to work for a long time in your older age, when you're a little bit older, it's a good idea to add bonds. And then the 3rd fund that you can add is the international index fund that tracks multiple international companies. That way you have exposure to domestic stocks, international stocks, and bonds. All right, for our last one, let's look at, excuse me, why are you so expensive? Mutual funds?
Excuse me, why are you so expensive? Well, dude, I'm an investment that pulls together funds to buy a variety of stocks, and I'm professionally managed. Oh, so your high yearly fees because you're professionally managed, right? Well, yeah, we got to compensate our management team somehow. Well, I heard that index funds and ETFs actually charge extremely low fees, and they often perform just as good as any mutual fund does. Where'd you hear that? Humphrey Yang on YouTube, of course. He talks about all this stuff. The link to his channel is in the bio. Damn it, Humphrey.
This is gold right here. There are so many mutual funds, hedge funds that charge you extremely high fees because you're professionally managed. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how smart the investor is or how big the company is, no one has been able to beat the index consistently over a long period of time. No one, really. And it is kind of bizarre that these hedge funds still exist, because this information is out there and we all know that index funds is the safest and the cheapest long-term investment strategy. But finance is really way more than numbers. Behavioral economics plays the largest role in how people manage their money. So even though people know that index funds are cheaper and less risky, they keep going to the mutual funds and hedge funds that are professionally managed and have higher fees for the greed. Yes, people are really greedy, and that's why these funds still exist. There are many cases where the hedge fund managers themselves invest in index funds, but they are selling the dream to their clients. So you gotta be really careful, especially when the fees go above 1%. Then you have to question, because the returns are usually 8 to 9%, and say they are charging you 2%, that's 25% of your total returns that you could have been reinvesting and snowballing your wealth, but instead you're paying someone else for professionally managing these funds. It's a great idea to keep an eye out on those expense ratios and how much money are you being charged for managing these complex hedge funds. So many times the type of stocks that they include in the funds are based on no research, just opinions or whims. So in my personal opinion, I stay away from them. I like my finances to be extremely simple and very easy to manage, where I'm confident about what my final return numbers will be. As confident as you can be, because investments cannot be predicted. Keeping your portfolio simple and money easy to access is the key to successful financial investing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I really appreciate you and your constant support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.